YouTube, Sim Nation, stand up. Yo, what up? It's your boy Geddon. This is a real quick intro, insight video, real quick what just transpired. Apex put out a video about 3 weeks ago. I'll put a link in the description or a annotation in the whole video. But he put out a whole video and it was labeled the travesty. He was referring and talking about the whole EA licensing deal and why 2K doesn't make any football games. But I made a rebuttal on that about a week ago. I meant to put it up, but the file was way too large, meaning it was way too long in minutes. So I had to cut it up, but I didn't have enough time to do that because, like I said, I flew to Florida, very beautiful place, and I actually might move out there. I'm not too sure. But anyway, just to prove to you guys that I did that real quick. Okay, so if you can look, these are all my files, and this is my YouTube HD videos. This is it. The label of mine is The True Travesty, part 1 and 2. As you can see, I did that on 7/2/2012. I just didn't have enough time to put it out there, but let me stop wasting time. Let me get back on that right now. I gotta cut up part 1 and 2 because it was one full video. So let's do it right now. Peace out. Hope you guys enjoy the video.
That's why Madden 04 was the best to me, because of the competition. It was balanced, offense and defense. And you were responsible for your schemes. You didn't have to depend on somebody else to make your playbook for you. Right? Now, I know the game had a lot of problems, but that's why it was the best to me, because of user-generated content and run animation. Mind you, it didn't have simulation qualities, but nobody cared because it was a good game. Now, there's nothing wrong with Madden making a good game and it not being simulation level, and that's the case this year. It's not simulation because it doesn't address the things that 2K has addressed. So 2K still has a standard with all-pro football. It's still the standard for football video games. And Madden hasn't reached that level yet, not to mention surpassed it. It hasn't surpassed it, it hasn't even reached that level yet, which everybody admits.
So in this case, you just heard him, he's mentioning like the level of simulation, you know, and again with his core element, he's saying that they stole simulation. The reason why he's saying that is because 2K stopped making football games, so they stole simulation. And the level here, we're talking about the level here, all pro football is the highest level, highest quality football game. And I agree with that. I 100% agree with that. There is no game on this planet right now that replicates football, that simulates football more than all pro football. But just because other games don't replicate football as well as all pro football, does that mean they're not simulation? Okay, so give me 1 second. Let's look up the definition of simulation. Okay, so on my app, it's called Dictionary. I just looked up the definition of simulation. Let's hear the phone tell me how to pronounce simulation.
Simulation.
Okay, so that's my phone, and I go. I'm looking at the definitions. There's 5 of them. Number 5 is the definition that mostly pertains to what we're talking about in terms of simulation. I'll read this from my phone. The representation of the behavior or characteristics of one system through the other use of another system, especially a computer program designed for the purpose. Okay, so that's a very general definition in my opinion. It's not extremely specific. The only specific parts is where it says the representation of the behavior or characteristics. Computer program designed for the purpose. It's not really referring to a level of any kind. It's just saying what's the purpose, what's the characteristics, what's the behavior, you know, designed from another system. In this particular, what we're talking about is games. So by that definition, it's more of a general term. It's not as specific. It's not like the highest form of simulation. Everything else under that is not simulation. Okay, it all has to do with intentions. Just like J Music said, he said the intentions So, by going on what you just said about the level of all pro football, and you're saying anything under that is not simulation, referring to Madden, referring to EA football games. But what happened if you say exactly the same thing, but are you referring to 2K football games as well? Because all pro football is better than NFL 2K5. It is. I think everybody would agree with that. It's just missing the NFL licensing. And when it comes to football, it's better, but not the overall scope. But when it comes to football, it is better. So does that mean NFL 2K5 is not simulation? That is something you got to kind of like ask yourself, and you can make your own opinion or whatever. But the fact is, NFL 2K5 is still simulation. That's a fact. Okay. What also is a fact, and I know people gonna smack the dislike button for this, but unfortunately, and I say unfortunately, Madden 06, the worst of them all, is a simulation game. It sucks. It was horrible, but it's still a simulation game, and I hate saying that. I surely hate saying that. Now, it has to be simulation, because a game like Backbreaker, which didn't have stamina, everybody is the same height, everybody wore the same equipment, in that aspect, it was purely arcade if you just look at it. But how Backbreaker simulates the body and how the body moves, how it contorts, how weight, momentum, all that is factored in with their Euphoria engine, such a beautiful engine. How that's factored in, that makes it a simulation game. Now, it may not be of its highest level because it lacked a lot of animations and details, but the fact that the Euphoria engine is its base and the intention is to showcase football, not arcade, I have to consider that to be a simulated based game with arcade elements due to lack of technology. Not lack of effort, those dudes worked really hard, but lack of technology. Their technology wasn't advanced enough to factor in different heights, infinite weights, you know, player weights or whatever. I think it only had like 4 or 5 different player weights, I think. It couldn't factor in different player heights. You know, the systems at the time, the Xbox and 360 right now, could not compute all that without slowing down and crashing. So they had to simplify it, they had to optimize it. So I do consider a game like Backbreaker simulation. If you're going to consider a game like Backbreaker simulation, you have to consider all the above. As long as you're not talking about a game like NBA Street or NFL Street, whereas, you know, or NBA Jam, where the dude with a basketball, the ball handler, is jumping 30 feet in the air, doing a windmill slam dunk. A game like NFL Street, where people are jumping off walls, throwing the ball, jumping off cars, getting power-ups, and you see flames on them. That's considered a arcade game because the attention is pure fun, something excitement, and they're not trying to replicate anything realistic in its purest form. You know, yeah, that game too has blocking and run animations, but the intention is to have something out of the ordinary happen. So this is my part 2, and yes, I did say Madden games are simulation, but they are of a low quality of simulation. Madden 13 did pick up the bar, but it's still considered somewhat of a low standard in simulation. That doesn't make it not simulation just because it didn't reach the benchmark that All Pro Football put out there. Part 2, Part 3 coming up right now.